Welcome to the deep dive. If you're here, you're probably looking to get a really solid grasp on some major historical figures fast.
And today, we're jumping right into Henry Ford.
Yeah, and look, everyone knows the Model T, the assembly line, sure, but we want to get under the hood, so to speak.
Exactly. We're digging into the strategic thinking, the prudence, you could call it, behind his decisions.
We've been looking at a whole bunch of material covering his life, from his earliest mechanical interests.
Right, through founding the company, the Model T phenomenon, those manufacturing breakthroughs, but also his views, his legacy, the whole picture.
And the aim here is really to pull out the key strategic moves at different points in his career.
What drove him? What were the actual results of his foresight or sometimes his lack of it?
And crucially, what can we actually learn from it?
Yeah.
For entrepreneurs today, or really anyone interested in how business success and its complexities actually works.
So we've broken it down into about 7 key stages.
Right. We'll look at his passions, the benefits of his strategies, and those takeaways. Okay, let's start at the very beginning. Section 1. That initial spark of invention.
Yeah, this is fascinating. It seems like from a young age, he was just completely absorbed by mechanics.
Even set up his own little workshop.
Apparently, yeah, just a kind of workshop with odds and ends of metal for tools. Really basic stuff.
Wow.
And then she taught himself watch repair. Think about that tiny, intricate parts. That must have given him a real feel for machine design.
Absolutely. And this wasn't just a hobby that faded, was it?
Not at all. He kept pushing to build cars even when his early business ventures failed, well before the Ford Motor Company we know. That persistence is really telling.
So 3 key signs of passion there.
Hmm?
The makeshift workshop, the watch repair skills, and just sticking with it despite failures.
Definitely.
And what were the benefits, the actual outcomes of this early phase?
Well, first, obviously, he developed a really strong hands-on understanding of mechanics and engineering. You can't fake that.
Right. Learn by doing.
Second, it helped him see the problems with transport back then. What wasn't working.
Identifying the need.
And third, through building those early engines, like the quadricycle, he built this deep personal conviction. He knew the automobile had potential.
Okay, so the lessons for entrepreneurs here seem pretty clear.
Yeah, I think so. Follow that genuine curiosity, it can lead you somewhere unexpected.
Value that hands-on learning, the tinkering, the experimenting. It builds real expertise.
And number 3, you absolutely need persistence. Setbacks happen. Learning from them is crucial.
Okay, let's move to phase 2. Actually laying the foundation for the Ford Motor Company around 1903.
Right, so after those earlier attempts, this is where it starts to solidify. And a big driver here seems to be his determination to control his own vision.
Is that why he left the Detroit Automobile Company?
That's the story. He wasn't willing to compromise on his ideas. He wanted to build a car, and this is a quote, specially designed for everyday wear and tear business, professional, and family use.
So utility right from the start. Practicality.
Exactly, not a luxury toy. And even then, you see this focus on constantly improving the designs. It wasn't just about getting one model out the door.
So passion signs again. Controlling the vision, aiming for that everyday user, and the drive for continuous improvement. And what were the results? How did this pay off initially?
Well, one pretty smart move was demonstrating a fast car on ice. That definitely got attention and helped attract some early investment. Bit of showmanship there.
Yeah, builds a place.
And then there was the 999 race car. Huge for early brand recognition. Winning races mattered back then.
Still does, I guess.
True, but maybe the biggest benefit was establishing that core philosophy. Reliability, simplicity, reasonable price. That became the bedrock.
Okay, lessons for founders today.
Number 1, define your value proposition clearly. What problem are you actually solving for people?
Don't try to be everything to everyone.
Right. Second, those early wins, even small ones like a race or getting that initial funding, they build crucial momentum.
Yeah, keeps things moving, builds confidence.
And third, stay true to that long-term vision. There will always be pressures to change course, but you need that anchor.
Okay, now we hit a really pivotal moment, section 3. The vision of the multitude. The Model T, 1908. This feels different.
Oh, it's a massive shift in scale and ambition. His passion here is crystal clear. He articulated this vision of a motor car for the great multitudes.
Not just for business use anymore, but for everyone.
Everyone. And this wasn't just talk. He was relentless in pushing for a design that was simple, easy to operate, easy to fix.
Making it accessible.
And underneath it all was this profound belief, almost an ideology, in the power of mass car ownership to transform society. He saw it as democratizing.
And the benefits were, well, enormous, right?
Absolutely staggering. First, he basically created a massive new market that barely existed before. Millions of people who'd never dreamed of owning a car.
Untapped potential.
Second, Ford established total market dominance. The Model T just crushed the competition for years. It became the car.
A cultural icon.
And third, think about the ripple effects. Its popularity literally drove the development of better roads and infrastructure. Society had to adapt to the car.
So the lessons here, thinking big.
Definitely thinking big, but also smart. Lesson 1.
Yeah.
Look for those underserved markets.
Yeah.
Who is being ignored? There's huge potential there.
Don't just follow the crowd.
Exactly. Second lesson, simplicity can be revolutionary. Making something easy to use and understand can unlock mass adoption.
Less is more, sometimes.
And third, consider the broader impact. What are the societal consequences, positive or negative, of what you're creating? Ford certainly reshaped America.
Okay, so the Model T is a hit, demand is soaring. What comes next?
Yeah.
Section 4, revolutionizing production, the assembly line.
Right, Highland Park. This is where Ford's obsession with efficiency really comes to the fore.
Obsession is the right word.
I think so. He and his team were just laser focused on increasing production speed and slashing costs, constantly tweaking, constantly measuring.
And they looked outside the auto industry for ideas, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. That's a key sign of his passion here. The willingness to experiment and borrow. Ideas apparently came from watchmaking, maybe even meat processing plants, wherever they saw efficiency.
The Chicago slaughterhouses, right?
Yeah.
The disassembly line in reverse.
That's the famous story.
Yeah.
And the sheer boldness of implementing the moving assembly line on such a scale, it was radical, unheard of.
And the benefits just transformed manufacturing.
Completely. Benefit 1, a massive drop in the production cost of the Model T, which then could lower the price even further, making it accessible to even more people. Benefit 2, a huge increase in production volume. They could finally start meeting that insane demand.
Catching up.
And benefit 3, it set a new global standard. Mass production, the assembly line model, it spread everywhere to countless industries.
Lessons learned from this focus on process.
It's relentless. Lesson 1, you have to continuously chase process improvements if you want a competitive edge. You can't stand still.
Efficiency matters. A lot.
Lesson 2, look outside your bubble. Innovative ideas often come from completely different fields. Be curious.
Don't be afraid to borrow and adapt.
And lesson 3, challenge the status quo. Sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come from questioning the way things have always been done. Be bold.
Okay, next up, a move that probably shocked a lot of people at the time. Section 5, investing in the workforce, the $5 day.
Yeah, 1914. This seems almost counterintuitive from a purely cost-cutting perspective, right? Doubling wages overnight.
Absolutely. What was the thinking? What was the passion behind that?
Well, it seems multifaceted. One sign was definitely challenging the low-wage norms, maybe a sense of fairness or recognizing how tough the assembly line work was.
A belief in the dignity of labor, perhaps?
Possibly. There is also evidence he understood the connection between wages and consumption. Pay people more.
And they can buy your product.
Exactly. Turn your workers into customers. That was a pretty radical idea back then. He recognized the hard work and maybe saw a way to benefit from rewarding it.
So what were the actual tangible benefits for Ford Motor Company?
Huge. Benefit 1, it stabilized the workforce dramatically. Turnover on the assembly lines had been incredibly high, very costly. The $5 day slashed that.
Attracted better, more loyal workers?
Yep. Benefit 2, productivity reportedly went up. Happier, more financially secure workers are generally more productive workers. Less churn, more focus.
Makes sense.
And benefit 3, as we mentioned, it created a whole new class of consumers who could suddenly afford a Model T, his own employees.
Turning cost into market growth. Clever. Lessons for leaders today.
I think it's a powerful one. Lesson 1, recognize that investing in your employees isn't just a cost, it's an investment. It builds loyalty, boosts productivity.
People are assets.
Lesson 2, think holistically. How do different parts of your business, wages, production, market, connect and support each other? It's an ecosystem.
See the bigger picture.
And lesson 3, Be willing to challenge conventional wisdom, especially regarding people. Sometimes doing the unexpected thing yields the biggest strategic advantage long term.
Okay, but Ford wasn't infallible. The market started changing, didn't it? Section 6, facing evolving markets.
Right. This is where the picture gets a bit more complicated. The Model T, amazing as it was, started to feel dated. Competitors like GM were offering more choice, more style, more colors.
And Ford resisted changing.
Initially, yes, famously stubborn about any color so long as it's black. But eventually the market forced his hand. Falling sales were undeniable.
So a sign of passion here, perhaps belatedly, was the eventual recognition that change was needed, leading to the Model A.
Exactly. He finally bowed to reality. Another sign, though, was his continued commitment to manufacturing excellence, embodied by the massive vertically integrated Rouge plant.
Total control over the process, from raw materials to finished car.
That was the dream. It showed his ongoing drive for efficiency and quality control, even as a product had to change. And there was still technical innovation, like the V8 engine introduced in 1932. That was a big deal.
So benefits of this later phase.
Well, the Model A did re-engage the market. It was a necessary update, kept the company in the game for a while longer against tougher competition.
Thought them time.
The Rouge plant became legendary, a symbol of industrial might, even if full vertical integration proved incredibly complex. And the V8 was a genuine engineering leap, offering powerful performance to a wider audience.
Lessons from this period of adaptation, or maybe lack thereof initially?
Crucial ones. Lesson 1. You have to keep your finger on the pulse of the market and customer preferences. Complacency is deadly, even if you were once dominant.
You can't rest on your laurels.
Never. Lesson 2. Be willing to adapt and innovate your core product. What worked yesterday might not work tomorrow. Don't be afraid to kill your darlings, so to speak.
Even the Model T.
Even the Model T. But lesson 3 is also important. Operational excellence still matters, even as products evolve. Maintaining efficiency and quality remains key.
Okay, that brings us to the final section. Section 7, a complex legacy of prudence. We have to look at the whole picture.
Yeah, and it's definitely complex. You have these incredible achievements, but also significant failings. We have to acknowledge his anti-Semitic views, particularly promoted through his newspaper, the Dearborn Independent.
Right. It's crucial to state that we're reporting on this aspect of his life as documented in historical sources, not endorsing these hateful views in any way.
Absolutely. It's part of the historical record and deeply mars his legacy. But looking at the passion signs across his life, you see that initial drive to democratize the car for the masses.
A sense of purpose there, initially.
Strong convictions, sometimes rigid ones, about how American industry should work, and later an interest in preserving American history, like with Greenfield Village and the museum.
So, focusing on the positive strategic benefits, the prudent moves that had a lasting impact.
You have to point to, 1, the democratization of personal transport. The Model T fundamentally changed mobility for ordinary people. That's huge.
2, the revolution in manufacturing. The assembly line's impact is undeniable, for better or worse in terms of work quality, but undeniably transformative for industry.
And 3, establishing Ford Motor Company as this enduring global industrial powerhouse. It survived and adapted despite his later rigidity.
So final lessons grappling with this complexity.
I think the biggest one, especially in light of his failings, is the absolute paramountcy of ethical considerations. Innovation and business success cannot be divorced from values.
Your character and beliefs impact everything.
Hugely. Lesson 2. True long-term vision requires adaptability, not just in products or processes, but also in social and ethical understanding. Rigidity there can be just as damaging.
Times change. Understanding evolves. Or should.
And lesson 3, even monumental achievements can be undermined or deeply tainted by failures in leadership and basic human values. Success doesn't excuse prejudice or harmful actions.
So wrapping this deep dive up, Henry Ford's story is really a powerful, if sometimes uncomfortable, study in strategic thinking or prudence.
Yeah, you see incredible foresight, drive, innovation, leading to world-changing successes.
But also moments of stubbornness, resistance to change, and those profound ethical lapses that we can't ignore.
Which leads to, I think, a really interesting thought for everyone listening.
Yeah.
How do you take these lessons, the good, the bad, the complicated, from someone like Ford, and apply them today? We live in a world changing faster than ever.
So the question is maybe about balance. How do you maintain strong conviction and vision like early Ford did so successfully?
Without becoming rigid or blind to changing realities, or worse, to fundamental ethical principles like later Ford sometimes seemed to be. Where's that line between steadfastness and stubbornness, between innovation and responsibility?
It's definitely something to chew on. Finding that balance in our own work, our own ventures.
Hmm.
We really encourage you to explore Ford's story further. Maybe look into other industrial giants and their strategies too. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Welcome to the deep dive. If you're here, you're probably looking to get a really solid grasp on some major historical figures fast.
And today, we're jumping right into Henry Ford.
Yeah, and look, everyone knows the Model T, the assembly line, sure, but we want to get under the hood, so to speak.
Exactly. We're digging into the strategic thinking, the prudence, you could call it, behind his decisions.
We've been looking at a whole bunch of material covering his life, from his earliest mechanical interests.
Right, through founding the company, the Model T phenomenon, those manufacturing breakthroughs, but also his views, his legacy, the whole picture.
Mm-hmm. And the aim here is really to pull out the key strategic moves at different points in his career.
What drove him? What were the actual results of his foresight or sometimes his lack of it?
And crucially, what can we actually learn from it?
Yeah.
For entrepreneurs today, or really anyone interested in how business success and its complexities actually works.
So we've broken it down into about 7 key stages.
Right. We'll look at his passions, the benefits of his strategies, and those takeaways. Okay, let's start at the very beginning. Section 1. That initial spark of invention.
Yeah, this is fascinating. It seems like from a young age, he was just completely absorbed by mechanics.
Even set up his own little workshop.
Apparently, yeah, just a kind of workshop with odds and ends of metal for tools. Really basic stuff.
Wow.
And then she taught himself watch repair. Think about that tiny, intricate parts. That must have given him a real feel for